And so that's kind of the other thing that I like to teach is when you're first starting out as a small business, you need to also have realistic expectations of how much can you do, how many platforms can you realistically be on and be actively creating content for, and what are realistic expectations from those platforms.
Angie Gensler, it is good to have you here on TIMECODES. How are you doing today? How are you feeling?
Hey, thank you. I'm good. I'm excited to be here as well. So I appreciate you having me on the show.
I appreciate having you here. You contribute to, as time went on, it became more evident just how important it is, but you contribute to a very important part of the e-commerce ecosystem, which I was just about to say it, but that's not how I do it. I always let the guests say it. So let's jump into it. Tell us, what do you do? What are you up to these days?
Yeah, so I teach small business owners how to use social media to grow their business. And I really focus on creating products that help them kind of take out that headache and the hustle that's involved with marketing your business on social media. I think a lot of people think that they have to be everywhere all the time, constantly hustling their butt off, making a million posts. That's not the case. So I try and teach a different method and create products to help simplify social media marketing.
That's definitely one thing that I've got pinned, and I'm looking forward to unpinning that, which is the mentality and the mindset of hustle culture. The word gets brought up. It gets brought up on this show, and so to my recollection, I don't know how often we've heard more of like an anti-take on it or an opposition to it. So I'm looking forward to talking about that. But even though that I was looking through your profile, and maybe, I don't know, I just didn't absorb a certain piece of information that would have been key to this. But so you said that you help small businesses, right?
Correct.
So small does that also mean that there are also mainly local businesses, or it could be a small business but still has an online presence and is still targeting a niche market, say, as far as they can reach?
I actually have a wide variety of customers. So I have anywhere from small mom and pop, local businesses, they have a brick and mortar, all the way to some really big online e-commerce companies, but maybe they have a small marketing department. I know my background, I started as a marketer, and I was a marketer for a $150 million business. But it was just me. I was a team of one. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of how I got into this, because there are so many people out there, whether it's you're running your own business or you're doing marketing for someone else's large business, you need this additional support. You only have so many hours in the day. So, my customers, it's actually kind of a big variety, but I would say the majority of them are online business owners.
I think it comes with the territory. I guess I don't get as many opportunities to talk to people who are working specifically primarily with small local businesses. Really only one episode comes to mind. So just using that, extrapolating based off how often it comes up, it's enmeshed with the territory. But what came to my mind is, I guess, the relationship of the growth of the social media platform in a way that's healthy and effective for the growth of the business. And what I mean by that is, if it's possible that things can actually go maybe like a little too well on the social media side, to the point where they're gaining more attention and demand than they can actually keep up with. And so now they're forced to perhaps scale upwards. So has that actually come up? And then B, what have been the challenges that you've seen businesses largely on the small side deal with as they're scaling their business, as well as scaling a social media platform alongside?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I would say the majority of the people, most small business owners, will never get into that issue of, I grew too quickly on social media and now I have so much demand, I can't fulfill it. That's honestly, I don't know if I've ever heard of that challenge from anyone. I wish it was a problem. But really the biggest issue that I see is small business owners will start researching social media. Maybe they have an interest, or they hear from a friend like, oh, you need to be doing this. Or they hear a story of another business that had success. So they start researching it, and then they get overwhelmed and realize, holy crap, like all these people are telling me I have to post 5 times a day. I have to create videos and, maybe I hate video and I have to be on this platform and that platform and that platform. And I don't even know what this one means. And I've never heard of that one. Mm-hmm. And so that's typically the problem. And they get into this overwhelm. And then the other issue is maybe they are trying to go on all these different platforms and it's not really bringing any significant results. And so that's kind of the other thing that I like to teach is when you're first starting out as a small business, you need to also have realistic expectations of how much can you do, how many platforms can you realistically be on and be actively creating content for. What are realistic expectations from those platforms? Is it truly going to, is that the only way that you should be growing your business? No. You should be doing lots of other different marketing tactics to be growing your business. And especially when you're starting out, probably focusing on other tactics and strategies that are just a little more providing more value, able to reach more people, maybe creating good blog content, podcasts, those sorts of things. Going to trade shows if you're kind of a more traditional business. But you need to have that social presence to support everything that you're doing, right? To always have this place where people can come back to. And as you're growing your business, it will become more and more important as a place to have these meaningful interactions with your customers and prospective customers. But I think just a lot of with social media with small business owners, it is just having those realistic expectations of what you can be getting from those platforms.
To just a follow up on my own question, it's good to hear that the overgrowth problem is non-existent. I have like a particular affinity with it, just because one of my previous sales jobs, the way the business model worked is that they were in touch with other suppliers for luxury watches, and what would happen is people would call our sales line. And they would find that we say, yeah, it looks like we've got about 3 available, which was great until 6 people placed an order. And the company was actually encouraging this because they wanted to create that sense of demand, almost that sense of, things they're going too well. And once in a while, did we have somebody in Germany call up and let us know how upset he was? Yes, it happened. Absolutely. So for that reason, we moved our shift down about an hour, and then all of a sudden the Germans were a little too late in the day for them. But yeah, that was that was a heck of a year. So, I mean, I think once in a while you will see that almost as a strategy rather than it be an unintended consequence. But nonetheless, it is still good to hear that doesn't come up very often. And the other thing that stuck out to me in your response is one of the things that I think is key is, when a small business is finding its legs and I guess, establishing its roots, it's important for them to, I think, consider how their presence on platforms will evolve as they evolve. And Absolutely. What I'm wondering is if you've seen businesses have to pivot. Let's say they enter into like a 5-figure range, enter into a 6-figure range. And yes, they can look for new opportunities to create content. Like maybe they have the resources now to make YouTube content, or I guess more elaborate YouTube content. They have the resources to make podcasts. But also maybe other platforms have actually lost their efficacy because they don't have that same traction. Because one of the things I looked at, and this is actually one of a very helpful infographic that I want to make sure we link to, is the breakdown of the different major platforms and how many people are visiting. Mm-hmm. Facebook is in the billions, and it's the only one in the billions. And then it goes downwards until around like 80 million. So coming back to the question is, have you seen businesses have to pivot and actually have to, redevelop their social media strategy based off their growth?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it happens all the time. And I know me personally, I have had to pivot with my own business. So when I was first starting out, I was all in on Pinterest. And I teach that Pinterest isn't really technically a social network. They're more of a search engine. But, still people kind of consider them a social network. And so I was focused on Pinterest. I was focused on Facebook groups. And over time, and it was working great for me. But as my business grew and as the demands became more and other things were starting to work. So SEO was starting to work for me. Then I was making a little money. Then I could start investing in Facebook ads and really shifted that time and energy. So instead of spending as much time on Pinterest, now I'm spending more on paid traffic and paid ads, and then started shifting more into Instagram, because then I had built a big audience and I had, all these people. And I thought, now I think I can start creating more personal content and showing a more personal side of me over on Instagram. And now that makes sense for me to be putting time and energy into Instagram. Before, it was like, I really only have so many hours in the day and I need to be focusing solely on Pinterest and solely on engaging in groups and finding people who need specifically what I have to offer. So yeah, that's kind of an example of how I've had to pivot throughout the years. So I think it's, definitely something that is realistic, and you should expect it. As your business grows, the uses of the different channels and the people that you're reaching on them, it's going to shift. So you will have to shift your strategy over time.
Mm-hmm. And then what about the presence or the lingering presence on these platforms? I guess my visualization of it is that it's not a hard, pull the bandage off and it's all over. It's a gradual decline of content as the audience starts being funneled to a different location. Does it get to the point where all they have left is almost like, I don't know, a museum exhibit of their previous activity there? Is there a method to just keep like it's just a tiny trickle of content, so at least that way, at least it stays like a little bit active? Or what have you seen have been like the ideal ways to exit? And if possible, have you seen ways that people have transitioned off of them that actually didn't go so well? Maybe the audience like, hey, where are you going? What's happening here?
Right. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen an example where it was a bad transition, but there's a couple different methods that you could do. So the one I would recommend, if you have built a decent following on a channel, don't just abandon those people. Don't leave them. Have, like you said, that steady trickle of content. So maybe now you're creating content for a different channel. You're really focused on that, but you can always cross share it. And that's one of my I call them social media myths. And it kind of is like a pet peeve of mine. Mm-hmm. So many of these experts will say like, oh, you can never post the same content on multiple channels. And that's a no. And I'm like, okay, what real person can honestly create completely unique content for every single channel? Only major corporations can do that. And some of them don't even have the budget because, everyone has budget cuts and employee cuts. And so let's think realistically. You can create one piece of content and share it on all these different channels. Now, maybe you are engaging fully. Like, let's say we're going to go over to TikTok. That's what our content's going to be for. That's where we're going to talk, have conversations with people, engage with them. That doesn't mean you still can't post it on your Instagram and your Facebook and post it on these other channels. But maybe you're not actively engaging in conversations, but you still have it there. So those channels don't turn into, like you said, like this museum of what you used to be. You can still have content. And maybe you even put a little disclaimer in there, like, hey, if you want to join the conversation, come check this out over at TikTok.
This was question 13 of my list, which was what you're describing here, which is cross-pollinating content. You answered the question prior to, because I guess it sticks out in your mind as being a major issue. But that would have been my position as well, which is is platform specific content. I mean, there is a case to be made that if I write a post on Twitter, given the character limit, there's a cadence to tweets that if I were to say, take that exact post and move it over onto Facebook, the cadence is lost because it's up against all this other kind of content with all this other format. So the question was, where do you stand on it? Is it better to post anything anywhere, or has it, I suppose, has it ever reflected poorly on a brand image if, the content doesn't quite fit the mold or it seems out of place? And I'll touch on one other example before we follow up on this. So say, for instance, like a YouTube started doing YouTube Shorts, I think as a response to the bite size or even the crumb size content of, say, TikTok. And Instagram tries to do the same thing with Instagram Reels. But if I were to just say post a TikTok onto YouTube, it's that like, this is 10 seconds, when I'm used to seeing content that's anywhere between 5 minutes to 6 hours. So where have you seen people, I guess, deploy their content on other platforms the most effectively, even if they're planning for it to show up in one place?
Yeah, I think it makes more sense on platforms. So there's what I call traditional social media platforms, and then there are search engine platforms. So Pinterest and YouTube are search engines. And so I don't consider them social channels. I know some people do. There's a social aspect, but the beauty of those platforms is there is that search aspect to them. And so someone is going to that platform looking specifically for something, some sort of help, a video that's going to walk them through something. So it doesn't make sense to take your traditional content and then also share it on those search platforms, or take your search platform content and share it on the traditional platforms. So to me, that doesn't make sense. But where it does make sense is like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. Those are what I call kind of your traditional, more of the old school social media. It's like you can do a text status, or maybe you share an article. Those all make perfect sense to kind of cross-pollinate and share that content across. And then Instagram and TikTok also work really well. Like if you're doing the Instagram Reels and the TikTok videos, those work really well to kind of share that content. You can get away with sharing your TikTok videos on other platforms, but they work best I feel like, to then go over to Instagram. So be thinking about, the type of channels. And so, like you said, a TikTok video, it doesn't really make sense on YouTube, because your 10-second video, like, are there really many keyword search terms that people are searching for whatever your TikTok video is about? Probably not.
Yeah. A compilation, though, where you take a bunch of TikToks, edit them together, and put them on YouTube. That's taking advantage of, I guess, both platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, there are ways. You're right. If you're creative, there are ways that you can still repurpose the content. But I would say, like, if you're just wanting to one-to-one, like, hey, I created this and then I want to share it on all these, really try and focus on sharing it to the channels that are like similar types of channels.
I like your perspective, and I think, I don't know, it's probably come up, but this is definitely the most recent on my mind of viewing, YouTube and sorry, I blanked on the other one.
Pinterest.
YouTube and Pinterest as search engines. And I mean, being a millennial, like I was born, raised, and educated on YouTube. So I from my perspective on it, I agree. But I also identify that I think what we describe is their most dominant and most prevalent feature. But then they also have these other features too. Like a YouTube channel can form a community. People can discuss things in the comments. But I think for the community to have the functionality that it needs, it usually ends up moving on to Discord or onto a Facebook channel or something like that. So what I think the assessment here is based off what do these platforms do to full satisfaction of the user's needs versus what do they do to partial satisfaction or to limited satisfaction, which then require funneling into other channels as well. So my question is, let's say somebody else had a point of view, and it's not mine. I'm not like hypothetical, but not really being hypothetical. This is actually hypothetical. If somebody viewed YouTube in a different way and they saw it more as, no, for me, it's a community platform, or for me, it's just a pure form of entertainment discovery. Let the algorithm decide, what's my day going to look like. Is it a hard stance for you? Is this objective and it's based off, your expertise? Are you coming from more of a subjective point of view, and these platforms are malleable in such a way that different points of view can have different takes on it?
Oh yeah. I mean, absolutely. I think they're very malleable. Okay. And I guess I'm coming from it from the perspective of a marketer. And so I guess if you're on these platforms, to market your business, to grow your business, that's where I'm saying I feel like you really need to approach YouTube and Pinterest to get the maximum value out of them as search engines, and you need to be focusing on your keywords and focusing on creating content that people will be searching for. Just because it is harder, especially when you're just starting out, to be shown in those algorithms. So if you can be shown based on search terms, that helps. But I think the beauty of these platforms is that they're always evolving, right? And they can be used for different purposes and different reasons. And I'm sure there are probably hundreds, if not thousands, of cases of people who have created amazing communities through YouTube, and they've just grown it, organically, creating fun content and not worrying about keywords or any of that. I'm sure there's plenty of cases. But yeah, I always approach these things as, I guess from my marketing background, I come at it as, kind of the professional marketer, and we need to be strategic, and you got to be smart with the amount of time you have. So if you have the time to, just play around on YouTube all day and create fun videos, then go for it. But most small business owners, don't have that time, unfortunately.
Okay, coming back to small business owners, it does make me wonder if some of that can actually be ironed out in terms of trying to build up a different habit structure. So I wouldn't suggest outright for somebody to like set up a mini studio, get your lighting, get the soundproof everything, write a script, but to look for what fits more organically into their routine. If somebody can just as easily pull up their phone and do a quick video saying, all right, here's me mixing the candle wax, and then they post that.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
could actually start significantly changing their presence online.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love that. You make a good point. And that's another thing that I teach my customers is, don't worry so much about, I have to be on this and I have to be creating video. It's like, take all the advice that you're getting and then sit down and decide, okay, what am I really amazing at? What do I enjoy? If the thought of video absolutely terrifies you and you hate it, don't do it. But if you are really comfortable, like you said, just opening up the phone and creating a quick video, and you don't want to deal with editing, then go that route. Just figure out what you enjoy, what works for you, what makes sense for you. Find a channel where that type of content works really well, and just go all in on that.
For you in keeping tabs on social media platforms, we can definitely go all day on the main ones, but I'm wondering if there's like less known ones, or even ones that are up and coming, that have cropped up in your radar, or ones that maybe you're keeping an eye on that have a potential down the line.
Yeah. So I don't really jump on the bandwagon too early on these platforms, because again, I'm teaching other small business owners that have limited time. So if I'm going to bring them a new platform, it better be killing it, and they better be able to prove that it can work for marketers. So one new one, and it's not new. So I say new kind of like
the audio content doesn't come out for a couple months anyway. So, it's all within like a 6-month differential.
Right. So it's like some people listening are going to be like, what is she talking about? That's not new, is TikTok, right? So TikTok is not at all new, but it's for small business owners, especially if you are not Gen Z, TikTok is new for you. And it's a new concept for business. And I've been watching TikTok very carefully the last probably 6 months, actually, well, probably a year. My husband jumped on it really early. And I've just been watching them and following them. And every week I'm seeing new releases specific for business owners and marketers. And so they keep coming up with new resources, new features to help market businesses. And so now I'm finally starting to teach my audience and kind of, hey, get TikTok on your radar, and maybe here's some resources, some best practices, because that is an up and coming platform where there is so much potential and it's growing insanely fast. And they're really coming out with some incredible resources to help you actually market your business and send people to your website, which is really cool.
I forgot to paste the link on my notes. Geez, it's one where you had the list of the major platforms, what are their key advantages, and TikTok wasn't on there to identify the that it's still a platform that's being proven. But if you were to add that on to that list, what would you say is, the key challenge of it, as well as the main objective that a business can have if they're going to devote to it?
Yeah. So the key challenge would probably be keeping up with the pace of the content. And I think for some businesses, the key challenge would be keeping it casual, because I think a lot of businesses go onto social media and they're very buttoned up and very formal. And TikTok is not at all formal, which is something I absolutely love about it, because, I don't like to be all polished, and I'm not, I don't have pictures of myself with perfect hair and makeup all over social media. So I love the idea that TikTok is not at all polished, but for some businesses, that's a scary thing, to be casual. And it's, I know a lot of businesses are kind of anti-social media because they don't want to say the wrong thing or get attacked, especially nowadays in the environment that we're in. And so that would probably be the biggest challenge, is having a voice as a business that is not filtered, but also doesn't open you up for attacks, I guess, would be the biggest challenge on TikTok. The biggest opportunity, is that what you asked me? I'm sorry, I apologize. You had two things. Biggest challenge. What was the other one?
Yeah. Biggest challenge. And then biggest opportunity, that summarizes it, is, in the way that Facebook is, about cultivating community. So what is the major, I guess, and it's tricky because I want to get the right word for it, right? Which is, what is the main objective? What is the most important thing that you extract from your activity on there?
Yeah,
there's a word. It's swimming around. I can't get it, but it'll come to me when I'm half asleep. Anyways.
Yeah. Okay. So with TikTok, I would say going on to the platform, I would say, like, the agenda, when you go on, like on some platforms, you can go on there, like on LinkedIn, your objective is to probably educate, to inform, to be helpful to your followers, right? To provide value as the expert in your industry. That's really kind of the objective with LinkedIn. With TikTok is more about entertainment, right? Entertaining content. So as a business, I teach about social media marketing. Okay. Well, there's not a whole lot of like entertainment I can do. I don't know if I can do pranks or jokes. I mean, maybe I could spoof other trends and stuff like that, but it would be more about providing like quick value, quick little pieces of like quick tips, ideas, maybe inspiration. So could you create some sort of inspirational, motivational type content? That kind of stuff works really well on TikTok. And I think the main objective on there is to build an audience and to start building the following. And as kind of I think honestly, every business owner, your objective should always be, anytime you're on social media, is to get traffic back to your business, to your website. That's the whole point, right? Is to grow your business. But if all your videos are centered around that on TikTok, people, the TikTok audience is not going to like it, and they're going to see through it, right? So you really need to be focused on how can you provide value, education, entertainment, and inspiration.
Yeah, and one thing that I think, at least is somewhat advantageous about TikTok, is that there's less means for people to trash something they don't like. They can just, well, yeah, I'm not a fan of that. But that only took 10 seconds out of my time. So on to the next one. Somebody goes onto YouTube, they have a lot that they can do. And that could be helpful. It's important to get your negative feedback too. One channel I'm a big fan of, as they wrapped up their video, they don't do the usual YouTube follow-up, which is like and comment and subscribe and all that. They were saying it ironically, and they're like, you know what, dislike this. Everybody, I want everybody to dislike the video. I want to see it. And then next thing you know, they have 47,000 dislikes. So.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But it does kind of catch you off guard. Yeah. It gets the attention.
So I have two, these are both pretty, to me, they're interesting. They came up over the course of this. The first one is a follow-up on making sure that if your students, your clients are going to move on to a platform, the platform itself has to have a lot of momentum. I completely understand. My question ties into a holistic image of the trying to find your colleagues and your peers. And what I mean by that is a small business might reach out to an equally small, like a micro influencer on a platform and build a relationship. They might reach out to a sponsor of comparable status, build that relationship. So you see, I hate the rising tide lifts all boats, but that's basically what I'm going at here. Mm-hmm. So is there a possibility that a small business, and I mean specifically small businesses in this, can adopt an up and coming platform and actually yield better benefits in the long run because they were one of the early adopters? It could be a resource intensive problem, but is it at least possible?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, it's absolutely possible. It's the only downside with that. I mean, there's risk, right? Yeah. So, there's huge risk, huge reward. So you could possibly jump on the right one. If you jumped on TikTok at the right time, you could have a massive following, be a big TikTok influencer, and, helped grow your business and your reach that way. But the problem is there's so many different platforms. Mm-hmm. And there's new ones all the time. And Clubhouse is one was really growing for a while. And then it had some controversy. And I feel like it's kind of leveled out. The problem is
it's just funny. What a platform where people can come in and say whatever's on their mind on the internet. How could that go wrong?
And we don't really have a good way to moderate it and kick out the rude people. Yeah. It's very interesting. And what's funny too is with those platforms, once Clubhouse showed success, Twitter was instantly like, oh, we're going to create our own version of Clubhouse. And so, and I think Facebook did too. And LinkedIn did. All the existing platforms were like, oh, that's working. We're going to create our own version. Mm-hmm. And the problem is, okay, well, Clubhouse was desperately trying to get funding and to, work out their kinks and their algorithms. And who has a bigger team and more funding than them, all these other existing platforms. So that's part of the problem of trying to put all your eggs in these baskets of these new up and coming platforms is, you don't know if they'll be able to hit it big fast enough before the existing ones can come in and kind of take their ideas and run with it. The other issue that I see is just for small business owners, again, you only have so many hours in the day. And so to be chasing after all these different platforms is really taking away your focus from growing your actual business. Instead of, your focus really shouldn't be growing a following on a single solitary platform. It should be growing your business on your platform, whether it's your brick and mortar store or it's your website. Focus on that. And the social channels should just all be complementary, not the they're not the entree, they're the sides. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's interesting to me, I don't have very nice things to say about, the idea of a business taking somebody else's business model and then, adopting it to them. It comes across as competitive for one.
Right.
Not inherently a bad thing, but it's also somewhat insidious or even malicious to rob another business of their uniqueness.
Absolutely.
What I would say on the other side, just to balance it out, is if you look at Facebook, they pretty much just take everything. Like, I don't think that there's a form of content that's not on Facebook. There's streaming. There's a whole section where you can watch people overcome their high school bullies. It's this whole thing,
wow.
this whole video where you just watch video after video after video of people getting picked on and then coming in the next day with a baseball bat and beating it and pummeling them out. For those of you who didn't get that, the actual video section, but for some reason they're all like Dar Man videos, people punching their bullies in the face. That's right.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, and now they're trying to get into gaming, and live stream gaming, and it's crazy.
Yeah. So to summarize why I bring this up, the point that I want to make, it ties into this larger philosophy that has helped me make peace with big companies, is that you have large companies or you have large personas or profiles, and I think their job is to show people the content opportunity. If people have no idea that they can watch videos online, Facebook is a good place because they might be on Facebook for a dozen other reasons. And then as people develop a taste, they will move on to more specific platforms in the same way that very, very popular comedians have broad reaching and general comedy. But then as people are like, you know what, this guy might be a little lowbrow for me. And then they find comedians with more specific tastes, and then they go into some pretty dark territory. But I've spent a number of years in that dark territory, and they're just fine people. They're just fine. So, could platforms is this a myth, or could platforms actually take advantage of the fact that larger platforms are adopting those business models and they're saying, look, they're doing it. They're helping people develop a taste for it. Here's what we have to do to curate and develop and nurture that taste.
That's an interesting perspective. I like that. I mean, in a perfect world, that could work. Or maybe I don't know if I really have a whole lot of thoughts on that. I mean, I'm kind of with you in the sense of, I also struggle with the idea of these big platforms, it makes me sad that Clubhouse might be able to make a comeback, but it appears at this point that Clubhouse has kind of died because everyone else was just kind of like, oh, well, now you can just come do it on our platform. And they stole the idea and the uniqueness and what made them special. And that's really sad to me. But I think if you can differentiate yourself enough as a small business and create a unique enough niche, then I think there is probably a possibility where someone could get interested or start going down that rabbit hole, like on Facebook, and then maybe they come across the more unique niche, smaller aspects of it.
Yeah, it's possible. And it's surprisingly, given that I blast off into space all the time, it is based off a pretty consistent pattern, right? There are I relate it to hamburgers. Like there's, for every 100 McDonald's, there's one or two niche, ones for people to say, I'm not eating that poison. I'm going to eat that poison because that poison is, better ingredients,
right?
More care and attention put into it. So
that's a good point.
Yeah, it is a real model. It's just, it's difficult to sometimes be able. I think it's just harder in the digital space because these things they can crop up so quickly. It's not like they have to buy real estate, to start taking. Anyways. And then, of course, here in Canada, everybody's trying to take a piece out of our coffee shop, Tim Hortons, Canada. Anyways, okay, so here is a problem that I invented specifically to ask you about.
Okay,
I call it the empty dance floor problem.
Oh, okay.
People who go back to, say, elementary school, probably not high school, elementary school dances. So the dance floor is set up. The DJ is there. There's lights. There's punch. Well, not in the middle of the dance floor. It's on the sides. And then you have the boys on the one side and the girls on the other side. And no one wants to act because nobody wants to be the first person to do it. The empty dance floor problem, I think a lot of businesses struggle with this too, because everything is set up. The tables are there. The punch is there. But because no one else is doing anything, there's a reluctance to be the first person to act. So, A, have you seen this problem? And B, have you seen a solution?
I don't know, like on social media or in business, if I've seen the problem, because I feel like there's always the early adopters. And that's kind of the beauty of, I think, just humanity is there's always those people who will be the first and early adopters. And then there's always those people that will, I'll go in a little bit. And then there's the ones that are like, never, no way. I mean, we're seeing that with vaccines right now in the world. And so I think with anything, we always have the early adopters, but I can't think of anything.
Well, what you said is
Gosh.
important is early adopters. And that might even be the answer that I was looking for, because going back to my metaphor, eventually somebody steps up and gets into it. And there's a part of them that either they don't care what other people think, or they're so enamored with it, or they're just doing it for the hilarity of like, finally somebody is breaking the tension and saying, okay, all right, he took the bullet for this one. Now everybody can come on in. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That reminds me of the video. Have you seen on YouTube the lone nut video? Oh, you'll have to, I think it's called The Lone Nut. You'll have to look it up. It's hilarious, but it's like, there's a music festival. And this one guy is just dancing like a complete nut by himself. Like he's probably on drugs. He's like totally crazy. And then after a little bit of time, someone else comes to join him. By the end of the video, he has this whole mosh pit going on around him. And he wasn't even trying to create a movement. He was just having a good time. Like, it's a cool video. It's interesting about how human behavior works.
Yeah. I just looked it up. I wasn't going to watch the whole thing, but yeah, that's a new one to me. All right. So a couple of other social media ones for you. So the next one, this is pretty granular. It's just about your method for setting up content. So, almost like in batch, or in major batch. How, from what I've seen, like people can even go so far as to set up content like 6 months in advance, or even a year in advance. So, how do you do it? And I mean, there's a lot to say there, but we'll keep it general. And then B is can it get to a point where content is like a little bit too far prepared in advance, because society can change pretty rapidly, pretty drastically, as we've seen. So next thing you know, like, oh well, I guess I have to rebatch the 50 of these that aren't going to count anymore.
Right. Yeah. So funny you asked that. I had a customer once that she batched an entire year of content. So I provide content calendars to my customers, and I have daily prompts, and I plan it out very strategically throughout the year on like the type of content that you should be posting every day. And so she took that and she created a whole year's worth of content, and it blew me away. But I was like, okay, I wish I could do that. But I've also, knowing just the nature of our world, and especially if she would have done that at early 2020, her whole year would have been totally blown up. Right. And so I've always taught batching 1 week at a time. Because you can pretty much stay up on world events 1 week at a time. And if something completely catastrophic happens, like let's say there's a massive terrorist attack, or, just something horrible, or a pandemic hits, you can easily shut off that week's worth of content, and not much harm is done or time is wasted. So what I like to recommend is you take 1 week at a time. Ideally, you would have some sort of content calendar, or other type of resource similar to what I provide for my customers. And you take that, sit down at your computer, open up your scheduler, or whatever it is that you use to schedule your posts, and go through and just start taking those prompts, let it spark your ideas, create your content. You can use I also have social media images that I provide, or you could open up like Canva or whatever it is and create your own, and just schedule out that 1 week of content. Because the other thing is, you'll find it, depending on how good you are, it can take you anywhere from 15 minutes to about an hour. And then you have that whole week done. And then I personally, by then I'm about creatively tapped out after about a week of content. And then again, it feels more, the content's more fresh. It feels relevant. You can kind of make it a little more time-based. And if you do have to shut it down for whatever reason, you didn't lose out on a whole lot of time. So,
it was your point about the pandemic sticks out to me. If you ever want to go for a trip, look for articles on e-commerce written in January 2020. And just to see people speculating what the future, like what the year was going to look like before the thing happened. So that's an eerie window into, oh, well, this did not age very well.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's wild.
All right. Well, we've been covering a lot of great ground here, and there's certainly more ground to cover, but there's a certain pin that I've been dying to unpin, which is about your relationship with the hustle culture. So This is the part where, I looked into your backstory. There's there was a situation that you were in that almost cost you your employment. So I think all of that ties into it. So I would really love to hear the story, and at what point did the idea of the hustle become untenable for you?
Okay, so you want to hear the story of how I almost got fired?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can relate to that because my life has been a sequence of almosts, and I was self-employed, and even that was pushing it at times.
Yeah. Okay, nice. Yeah, I love to tell this story. So I worked in corporate. I worked for a big major corporation, and I was working my way up the ladder, and they had me in this big leadership training program. And so we had to travel all over the country for the year and do all these big week-long retreats and to develop us into the next, big leaders of the company. And we were in New York City, and it was just maybe 5 or 6 of us. Went to dinner, and then we were like, you know what, let's go explore the city. And so we went down, we went down to Wall Street, and there was the Wall Street Bowl, and we were like, oh, let's take pictures. And so I went behind the bowl, and I handed my phone to one of my coworkers, and I said, hey, I'm going to grab this bull by the balls, take my picture. And I was like, I'm going to send this to my husband. It's going to be hilarious. So I'm like down in this bowl, like loving it, like getting in there. And the guy's taking pictures, and we're like, haha, this is so funny. Well, the next day he's showing everyone else in the training group, like, oh, look at these pictures of Angie. Isn't this funny? Ha ha ha. And everyone's like, oh, that's so funny. So not a big deal. Then I go back to my office, and on Monday, my HR leader calls me into her office, and she's like, so I've heard that you took some inappropriate pictures on this work trip, and there's some people really upset about it, and we might have to fire you. I was like, so blown away. I was like, first of all, please don't call them inappropriate photos. That makes it seem like I was like doing God knows what with who, God knows who. I'm like, I grabbed a statue's balls. Like, that's literally it.
Can I just one, because I need to ask this. So they actually went to the trouble of sculpting the bull's testicles.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
on the Wall Street
so
Bowl.
It wasn't just like, hey, use our imagination. It's softcore. Just pretend that the balls are there. Okay. Okay.
No, he actually has like bull. Okay, I got to show you this. So my dad is like about to like kind of commemorate the whole thing. He was at Wall Street like maybe 6 months later, and he's like, guess where I am? And he's like, there are people lined up down the street to grab this bull's balls. He's like, you're not the only one. And so he found a little vendor, and he bought a bowl for me, and you could see he's got him. So anyway, I did not get fired, but it was this whole ordeal, and the whole thing, I was like, you know what? I don't belong somewhere where I could get fired for doing this. I was like, I'm the kind of woman that I grab life by the balls. I make jokes. I have fun. It's all harmless. I need to, it's time. I need to be done. I need to go do my own thing. And so that really sparked months of trying to figure out, okay, what's my exit strategy going to be? How am I going to get out of corporate? How am I going to pave my own way? And that led me into tons of research about online business. And there's a particular person that he loves to promote the hustle culture. And he would talk about staying up all night, working your butt off. You work your job, and then you come home and you don't see your kids, and you drink unlimited cups of coffee, and you stay up till 3 a.m. and you wake back up at 6 a.m. and you start all over again. And I mean, he was legit serious about this, like teaching people to do this. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, the whole reason I want to quit my job is, well, one, so I have the freedom to do things without risk of being fired, but also to be with my kids. Like, the whole point was to spend more time with my children and to be home with them. I'm like, and so if that is my whole point, that's my whole reason and my why, then why in the world would I work the next year and not see them at all? Like, that makes zero sense. And so that's kind of why I was like, you know what? Screw the hustle culture. I'm going to do it my own way. And I'm going to do it in a way that is sustainable and still allows me to spend time with my children while I'm building my business, because that's the whole point of building my business. So that's kind of how I got into that.
Right. Like I mean, one thing that's worrying is the idea of, oh, I just spend this year making these sacrifices, and then I'll see my kids, in the next year, when there's no way of knowing if a person's going to get out of that. Either A, they're constantly failing and they have to keep trying, or B, they're succeeding and they have to constantly keep trying. And now, and they're stuck in that. Yeah.
And you get addicted to that too, I think sometimes very easily.
Mm-hmm. I also thought it was kind of ironic that, social media was the catalyst for this, in the sense that a form of media was spread socially. And then, and so it's also been the now your source for freedom and to really live life in your terms. So to me, that's just, I love irony. So that just stuck out to me. So I don't want to, wrap up the episode without trying to identify something positive about the hustle culture, because I've been immersed in it for some time. I think, like with a lot of things that people can enjoy, there is an element of moderation to it, which is psychologically, pushing someone to try a little bit harder and to maybe start ironing out some of those habits that are keeping people from trying not quite so much. So somebody comes home from a long day of work and they just want to veg out and watch TV. Well, they have a job, respect. But hey, why don't you instead maybe use the 30 minutes to an hour and start working on something else?
Absolutely.
And slowly it starts to iron out bad habits and turn good habits. Because I'm not a psychologist or anything like that, but I'd say like 90% of what causes bad habits and even addictions is a lack of something else to do. Yeah. Some people have things to do. Their addictions you don't have time for them anymore.
Absolutely. And you make a good point. And, that is something I forget to also share is, I'm anti-hustle culture, but I think some people from the outside looking in might look back at my journey and say, well, you were hustling, because I was working through my lunch hour. I was, I did not watch TV for probably 2 years. Never. When my kids napped, I worked through their entire nap time. On Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings, I would get up at 5 a.m. and I would work until my kids woke up. And, so I wasn't hustling because I wasn't sacrificing time with my kids, but there were other things that I was giving up and sacrificing. So I think that's important, is figure out, what really matters to you and what's kind of your deal breakers. Don't sacrifice those things, but maybe don't come home from work and sit in front of the couch and watch TV for a couple hours. Like you do need to hustle and put your time into your business if it really is important to you.
Yeah. I have one of my crusades is in commuting. If somebody listens, I listen to music, when I'm commuting oftentimes, but I spent many trips listening to podcasts. Yep. And, you hear people that they have like hour-long drives in the car, like, just, okay. Yeah. Barry Manilow is breathtaking, but, have you tried listening to a podcast, and
can you be productive?
Yeah, exactly. Like it was fun. There was a very, very harsh drop, by the way, in listenership once the pandemic hit, because a lot of people were listening in commutes, and so because people weren't commuting, all of a sudden they found that the competition was a different beast dealing with all these other things at home. So,
fascinating.
I think it's leveled out, but there's some interest there.
I know when I quit my job, I was really sad, because I was constantly consuming audiobooks and podcasts, and I would even sometimes dictate blog posts like on my phone as I was driving. And I really missed that time once I quit my job.
The other part of it I'm wondering, and we're getting close to wrap up time here, is specifically in your exit, because you never know, somebody might be listening and maybe they're doing their corporate 9-to-5 stint and they want out, but they're about to sacrifice their pay, their benefits, and that security. So can you share with us, I guess, what was your exit strategy? Like how long you were planning this before you did it, and then once you had done it, was there leaks in the ship, so to speak? You had to
Good
plug those
question.
leaks. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I started my business December of 2016. And then I quit my job April of 2018. So I think it was like about 18 or 20 months from when I started to when I quit. And it was a really tough decision. I had a bunch of other things going on with my job. They were royally screwing me over and putting pretty much like 3 times the amount of people's work on me. So that was a whole nother piece of it that really like kind of forced me to take that leap. But my husband and we are hardcore savers. And it's funny because I look back and I'm like, what were we even saving for all those years? But we had like a year's worth of my income saved up. And so finally, when my job got so bad, he was like, that's it, enough. It's time. Like, you need to quit. It's time. So, and the business hadn't replaced my income yet. So it was a very terrifying decision. But we decided, you know what, it's time. Like if we're ever going to really make it work, we have a year's worth of income saved up, and then we cut everything. Like we cut Amazon Prime, we cut Netflix, like we cut the kids couldn't do activities or sports. Like we were like, we have to make the sacrifice for a year. And, and not much happened for the first few months. And that was terrifying. And we were living off of savings for a few months. And yeah, it was really scary. But there was a lot of mindset work and a lot of manifestation that I was trying to focus on. And it finally clicked, November of 2018. So gosh, how many months was that? Like maybe 6 or 7 months after I quit, it finally all clicked and really started working for us. But I mean, we had a pretty good safety net when I quit.
Okay. Those are some key things to keep in mind. For me specifically, a year, the fact that it was a year's income worth I think it's a pretty tangible and practical figure for people to keep in mind. It's like, this could take some time, and it often, if not exclusively, does. So yeah.
And we'd been building it for already a year and a half at that point too.
Right. So, yeah. That right there is I think pretty well almost where I want to stop. But if I can borrow you for maybe like another 5 minutes, I like talking about manifestation. I like talking about that kind of thing. So, what was your method of it? Was it like self-affirmations, writing things down in a notepad, DMT? They tell me I should try to be like Joe Rogan once in a while. So I thought I'd ask that. What was your manifestation process?
So I did lots of different things. Okay. Listening to podcasts, listening to positive audiobooks. I had a brain like rewiring program that I would listen to every morning with affirmations. That helped significantly. I would journal. I would meditate on occasion. I'm like type A, go, go, go. So meditation is so hard for me, but I tried. And I had a couple different YouTube people that I like to listen to. It was just like positive affirmations or inspiring content that I would just listen to in the background. A lot of it was just trying to keep myself from spiraling into just complete and utter fear. Because there was, there wasn't enough money coming in to pay the bills. And so there was like some debilitating fear. And why did I do this to my family? And what am I putting them through? And so a lot of it was those affirmations of positivity, but it was kind of fascinating. I heard, and this is kind of way out there, but it blows my mind when I think about it.
I'm very open-minded to this kind of thing. So let's have it.
So I heard about, and I don't know if you've ever heard of this. You take 2 cups, like plastic cups, and I wrote my current income on 1 cup. And then I wrote my desired income, and I just did it by month on the 2nd cup. I poured water into the cup with my existing income, thought about it, really thought about it. And then I poured that into the cup that had the number that I desired, and then kind of, thought about that for a minute and then drank it. And I did that every day. And what's insane is when I started doing that, that's when things just completely exploded. And I went from like, I think my first cup said like $1,000 a month until like my final cup said, because I kept upping it. It was like 200,000 a month. And it was like within a matter of 2 months, it was just crazy. And so I don't know, it's one of those things where it's like, who knows? Someone could say, oh, it was just the timing, but I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it gets into in what way are we conduits to higher dimensions, and how do we extract that energy? And the reason why we're equipped with our senses is to collect information, sights, sounds, tastes, smells, and all of that. And so in this case, it was information through sight, like because you're looking at the information, and then confirmed through the taste sensation, or just the act of drinking the water. And what I think is especially helpful about this particular method, which I'm going to try, by the way, is that it is also water, and people should be drinking water anyway. So
yeah.
So stay hydrated and make your dreams come true.
Yeah. Well, and water is fascinating. I mean, water carries so much energy within it, and so if you can infuse kind of that energy, that intention into the water, it's just, the whole thing is just really cool. So I would love to hear if it works for you.
I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm tempted to go buy cups specifically for it, because all of my cups are uneven. I got jars. Look, I'm a millennial. It's just there's. Anyways, cool. Well, that's I've seriously never heard that idea before, but I think it's interesting, and it's and it's, well, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer, really. Even if let's just say doesn't work, it's still water,
right? Yeah.
But that right there, that limiting factor, that's going to go. That's the kind of thing, just in case it doesn't work, that's the kind of thing that actually is the most, I think, significant limiting factor, because it already it compels people to think about their safety net rather than their change. So self-aware, caught it, letting it go. All right. So Angie, this has been fantastic. It's been great to meet you, great to talk to you, and great to share in your knowledge and experience. My final question is, if you have like a proverb or like a quote or any last bit of wisdom you like sharing, you're welcome to. And then let the audience know how they can make contact.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, Joseph, thank you so much. It's been good talking to you. Yeah, so I have kind of my own mantra that I follow all the time, and it's perseverance, not perfection, is the key to success. And so I think so many times, myself included, it worries so much about everything being perfect, and it's not at all. And it goes with everything in life: parenting, social media, running your business. It's not about getting it perfect. It's about just never giving up and showing up every single day. So yeah, and if your listeners would like to connect with me, they can find me over at angiegensler.com, and they can find my social channels through my website as well. And I would love to offer your listeners a special discount on one of my products, if that's okay.
Of course. Yeah. 100%.
Okay. So I have, it's called the social media content system. And that's where I have the social media content calendar, and I have images, and I also have a mobile app that has content all done for you, and you can just post it to social media in a couple clicks. And I'm about to raise the price on that product, but your audience can get it for the current price that I have it at now. So they'll save 20%. So all they have to do is go to angiegensler.com/save20, and they can get the content system at 20% off.
Well, lovely. Well, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Great. Well, that is everything. To my audience, as always, it is an honor and a privilege to collect this information, use it for my own benefit, and share it with all of you as well. So thank you all for your participation. And one more thank you to my guests for the road. It's been a blast. So with that, take care, and we will check in soon.
Signal to a prospective employer that they have a certain skill set.
Hey, this is Joseph from Ecomonics. Just wanted to thank you for being here and for giving this content your time and attention. I hope you learned something. I can say with certainty, I have learned something with every episode that I have done, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. There's a couple things you can do to help us out. If you want to check out the audio content, we are available on all major podcast platform distributors. And while you're there, give us a 5-star review. It helps a lot. And while you're here on YouTube, there's a lot of things you can do to help out as well. It's not going to take very long. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button for this episode, and hit the notification bell so when we have new content for you, it's going to be at your doorstep ASAP. Lastly, this podcast is created by Debutify, the best Shopify template available. It is 100% free for you to start, and it can change your life. It can make you so much more free than you are right now. So if this episode wasn't enough to convince you, I think a few more might do the trick. So have at it.